Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Secular Homeschool Revolution. I'm your host, Ashley, and today we have a special episode in honor of Pride Month. As allies, it's important to incorporate diversity, inclusivity, and support for the LGBTQ plus community into our homeschooling journeys. So today we're going to discuss how to celebrate Pride, how to include LGBTQ plus topics in our curriculum, and create a supportive learning environment for our kids. But before we dive in, I love to give you guys a podcast update and life update, so let's get into it. So first, let's get into the podcast update. I'm very excited because I do apologize I haven't posted in a couple of weeks. But with that, with no new update, no new posts, I am now over 90 followers, 90 listeners, which is incredible, especially since I haven't pushed it. So thank you to anyone and everyone that has shared my podcast. I am just so grateful that you guys appreciate or at least interested in my point of view. When I started this, I wanted to be a voice for the BIPOC secular community because it is the minority in the homeschooling community. And so thank you. And if you haven't shared it, please share it because we never know how far this is going to go. I think I would like to be invited to a secular homeschool convention if I'm going to manifest it. I mean, if I'm thinking about what my podcast goals would be, that would be very cool. I got to think about that because I never imagined, which I'm always like, take up space, but I didn't imagine I'd be this close to 100 followers or listeners. I was for sure thinking it would take, like a year, but it's less than 6 months. I mean, right at the 6-month mark, I'll hit it. I know that may be small for some people or a small goal, but for me, it was a goal that was like farther out of reach. So thank you again. So thank you for helping me be a voice in the secular community. Thank you for sharing. If you haven't, please share. I am not one of those people who take people for granted. Thank you for your time and energy. It is very much appreciated because you can't get time back and it's very expensive. So again, a big thank you. Next, we're going to talk about just life. So last time I told you guys Kari won that Young Pegasus Poetry Award about the poem about us making her do her work when she'd rather watch TV. Well, this girl, they had the opportunity to do a poetry reading with other kids who won the award and who got published in the book. And she's so funny. We get there and you have to sign in and you see a lot of the other kids are very nervous. It's very visible. And some kids were so nervous to the point where they couldn't read their poem and they asked an adult or a judge to read it for them to present it. My kid gets up there and is just thriving. She gets up there, she introduces herself, her name, she gives a shout out to that she's a homeschooler and our co-op for the culture, and she gets into her poem. And well, first of all, she worked the crowd. She made them laugh, and she's like, I wrote this poem because my parents make me do my work and I don't want to, but here we look at me now. I won an award. And they laughed, and she read her poem. Then people laughed some more. And when she came to sit down, I said, "You did so amazing." She goes, "I know. I want to do it more." And so her eyes were just so big. They were just like, you could tell she was going high off adrenaline. I said, "Were you nervous?" She said, "Absolutely not." She's like, "I loved everybody looking at me. I loved everyone listening to me. I want to be on a stage some more." And the homeschool mom in me kicks into like overdrive. Okay, so what does that look like? Do you want to do theater? Do you want to do more speaking opportunities? And she's like, all of it. So we're gonna spend, some time narrowing down what that looks like. So I've looked at some theater classes, some singing classes to see what her interests would be. And she's always the first to like raise her hand and volunteer. And because she likes that attention, which is interesting. And also at the end, there were some in the program, whenever they were like giving kids shout outs, they made a comment that there were over 24 public schools being represented, and they had no mention of homeschooling. So I had told Kari, I was like, it would be cool, no pressure, if you gave homeschoolers a shout out. And so she did it, which was cool because then at the end, a family came up to us and they're like, we're homeschoolers too. So it was two families actually, and both of their kids read. And like, we were a little offended. The homeschoolers didn't get acknowledged. So it was so cool that you did it. And so Kari was like, of course, I got the homeschoolers back. But if you listen to her episode, you definitely can tell she's a very big personality. So we're looking for opportunities for her to do her thing on a stage. Then we had to do some vendors with like vendor pop up markets with Parker. So when she took the entrepreneurship class in our co op, she developed a bookmark business. And then when we did our end of the year pop up with our co op, she sold out on her bookmarks. And she has been steadily designing more bookmarks on Canva and has been asking me to take her to like other pop-ups. While I would love to do that, I was procrastinating a little bit because it's Texas and it's hot and it's humid and a lot of the pop-ups are outside. And I joined like a local vendor pop-up Facebook group where people post where different pop-ups are. And a lot of the pop-ups are long. They'll start at 10 a.m. and go till 5 p.m. And I love her and I want to support her. I don't want to stand out there even under a tent. So, and it's my husband's heavy travel season, so it would be me, Parker, and my other two. But I finally found the perfect opportunity. It was with a District 2 City Councilman's community pop-up fair. It's called the Last Tuesday Market, and it was only from 5 to 7, and it was beautiful. It worked out great. She did some research on TikTok and YouTube and found how to make her backdrop or her setup. She used a pegboard and zip tied it to like a clothing rack, and she painted it, and she added hooks so her bookmarks could hang. But the wind was so windy that they were flying off the hook. So she was a little upset that her display wasn't how she intended it to be, but because of the weather, I think it taught her a lesson to either she was struggling, right? Because it was like, do I let the wind mess it up and have a bad attitude, or do I pivot and sell some things? So she pivoted. Well, she pouted for a good 5 minutes, took some deep breaths, reset, and got back in it. And she ended up selling about $100 worth of bookmarks. A librarian came, a principal came, a teacher, and asked her if she did custom bookmarks. She'd like to possibly order a set for the beginning of the year for this upcoming school year. So she was super motivated. But this one man tipped her $20 and gave her the most amazing words of encouragement. And he said, I can tell this is your business and not your mom's because I can see the passion you have in your eyes. And when I'm asking you about your more dicey bookmarks, because she has like up at Read Band Books, capitalism and small business. He was like, you were able to tell me what they meant, and I could tell that was important to you, and to be so young and have this type of point of view, and you're out here with your own business. He was like, I hope you make it. I want to tip you $20. I want to see you out here again. He's like, I come to the markets all the time. I look forward to purchasing more bookmarks from you. So that really inspired her. And then the District 2 City Councilman, Jalen McCree Rodriguez, he came and purchased, his background is in education. He came and purchased some bookmarks from her and was like, I love what you're doing. Please come back to our next market. So she's like, Mom, I got invited back. And he even gave her a special request on a bookmark. So she was just super excited, super motivated. And I did find her another vendor pop up that we will be at next week. And I gave her the contact information. So she crafted the email, handled the communication, booked the date. So I was really proud of her and her just taking initiative for her own business. And I think the last update I want to share is, I think the last one is we did our spring fling dance fundraiser with our co-op, and it was so much fun. It was very much a family dance. Everyone came dressed to the nines, and they danced the entire night away. They even did karaoke, and you never know how kids are going to be in front of their friends, but these kids showed out. They did solos, they did duets, but overall it was a good night, and the parents were sweating by the end of the night, the kids were sweating by the end of the night, and it just gave a very good community feel. So I know some people are so on the fence about co-ops, but I do definitely think it makes a difference when you find your people, because then it's not comfortable. But yes, as you guys can tell, I really do love our co-op, and we do spend a lot of time with them. But now, and then Langston, we did he's in a separate co-op. It's not really a co-op. They meet weekly. They call it a preschool co-op, and they did the cutest thing. So they volunteer. So it's a preschool co-op, so they're ages 3 to 5, and they volunteered at a food pantry. So to see these like 12 little kids separating and organizing food was so cute, and they did well. Like, they worked for a little bit, and then they would take a break, and then they would work and have some snacks. And overall, with parent support and help, we helped put together 175 or 85 bags for senior citizens for the food pantry. So these kids are out here doing some really cool things. I'm really proud of the adults who are supporting these kids to have these really cool opportunities. Okay, so now we're going to get into what is Pride Month and why is it important. But before I can get into the nitty gritty, it is important that I state Pride was built off the backs of trans women of color. Sometimes that can get lost, and it's important that we put that in the forefront. So, Pride Month is celebrated every June. It commemorates the Stonewall Uprising of 1969, and this event was huge for the LGBTQ plus rights movement. It happened at 3 o'clock in the morning that the Stonewall Inn, which was a gay bar, was raided by the police. And at this time, which is not even at that time because I still think it's very prevalent today, LGBTQ plus individuals were faced with widespread discrimination and harassment, with police raiding gay bars on a regular, like it was common. But on June 28th, 1969, it was different because patrons of the Stonewall, which was led by trans women of color, Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, they decided to fight back. They were sick and tired of being oppressed, and they resisted and they took up space and they were loud, they were in charge, and they sparked a whole movement. Okay, a part of me wanted to say a whole MFN movement right now, but I don't usually cuss on my podcast. In real life, man, I will drop a F bomb like every other word, but a whole movement, right? And this is what really pushed them into their own civil rights movement, the LGBTQ plus rights movement. And it's important that when we're acknowledging the contributions of Marsha and Sylvia, that we acknowledge why they're important and discuss the historical context, because that intertwines with issues of race and social justice. And because of their bravery and activism, they laid the groundwork for so many of the rights and freedoms that the LGBTQ plus community gets to enjoy today. And we have to understand that it's bigger than just this beautiful, colorful flag. Like, people put their life on the line. Now we're going to discuss the importance of incorporating LGBTQ plus stories into your home education and why it's incredibly important for several reasons. I think first and foremost, it promotes empathy and understanding. When kids read about characters who may have different experiences or family structures than their own, then they can really start to see the world from a truly diverse perspective. And this will help them develop compassion and acceptance towards others. Additionally, LGBTQ plus stories help normalize diversity, which is a whole reason why this banned book mess is just crazy. Because when we're including books that feature LGBTQ plus themes and characters, we teach our kids that everyone deserves to be seen, heard, and respected. It gives them the opportunity to see love and family, that it can come in many different forms, and all are valid and all are beautiful. These stories also provide representation for kids who are LGBTQ plus or come from those family structures. And when kids see themselves reflected in the books, this can be an incredibly affirming and empowering experience. So it gives them that feeling that they're not alone and that their experiences and identities are valued. And I think the other thing is, when we incorporate these stories, especially here, I mean, for us who are the progressive, radical, revolutionary homeschoolers, we're teaching our kids to expose themselves, right, to different types of books and different stories. And hopefully this will empower in our own homes important conversations about identity, equality, and social justice, because this creates a safe space for children to just ask questions and express their thoughts and feelings. And you get to talk about these things openly and honestly. And when we can have these honest conversations with our kids, they will become thoughtful and informed and inclusive individuals, right? Because that's one of my goals, where my kids can leave our house and they're these kind, inclusive individuals who stand up for other people and are independently able to function on their own. Um, so now we are going to talk about some books for younger kids, like the ages of like 3 to 7. One book I want to talk about is Mama and Mommy and Me in the Middle by Nina LaCour. This book is just so sweet, and it just has cute little pictures, and it's about this little girl who loves spending time with her mom and mommy. One goes off to work. I think Mama goes off to work, and so she's going through the feelings of being sad and what missing her mama feels like. And so she has to go through the week trying to figure out ways how to connect with her. But it's normalizing a different family structure. Another one is Stella Brings the Family. Again, this is a picture book that is celebrating a diverse family structure. Stella is a little girl who has two dads, and she has a dilemma because her school is celebrating Mother's Day. And so this book just, in a very simple way, navigates how to handle the situation, and it brings up the conversation of acceptance and inclusion. And again, family can take another form. Oh, the last one I want to share for younger kids is Julian is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. This book, it's by far one of my favorites, but it's about this boy, Julian, who is challenging this the normal identity of a mermaid, of usually being white and blonde, long hair, red hair. Because guys, we all know what happened when Disney had Haley Bailey, Halle Bailey become the Black Mermaid with red locks. The world hated her, and the box office numbers showed it. And so, again, this book here is giving us a different version of what a mermaid looks like. And I love that it really hones in on the message of celebrating someone and their authentic self, and just giving them unconditional love and support. And the images, the illustrations in this book is just beautiful. So those would be my top 3 books to start with. Julian is a Mermaid, Mama and Mommy and Me in the Middle, and Stella Brings the Family. And again, these are all for younger ages, from the ages of like 3 to 7. I've read them with my kids, and I just think they're incredible stories. And it doesn't have, those conversations don't need to be harder because of books like this explaining the story in just a simple way. Next, we're going to talk about that middle, upper elementary. A good book would be Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the Rainbow Flag. This will give the background information about the activist Harvey Milk and the designer Gilbert Baker on how the gay pride flag came to be. I love that it gives history. I love the illustrations in this book. And there were a lot of things that I learned. So this definitely would be a good book to talk about the history of the pride flag and why it's so important to the community. The next book I want to introduce is a kid's book about gender by Dale Mueller. This book is just great to have in your homeschool library. Like, I wouldn't borrow, I mean, you could borrow it from the library, but this would be worth the purchase to have at home. It does a good job at exploring gender and identity. The conversational tone in the book is just so easy, which I love that it's so easy, because even these adults who constantly say, I just don't understand, I don't understand it. Well, if it's laid out in basic enough terms at this level, I think an adult should be able to digest this and have an open conversation with reading, after reading this book. So you could hand out copies to people and say, oh, you don't understand it at this level? So let's try it here. But again, it's a nice resource to have, so you can start having open and safe conversations about gender with your kid, or just to inform them. And it's another beautiful book. And another one could be Queer and Fearless by Rob Sanders. This is by, I think it's 20, no, let me look, 17 biographies of activists. And it goes anything from like a poem to a short biography with illustrations, and it tells you about the movers and shakers and the LGBTQ plus community. And it is, again, well done. It's a fun and easy read. And I think that would be my I'm sure there's more, but those would be my suggestions for that upper middle school. No, the upper middle elementary. I know some people feel some type of way about graphic novels. I personally enjoy graphic novels. I love that my kids are into graphic novels. And so there has been momentum growing for queer affirming graphic novels. We read together Drama, and it's about two brothers. One is openly gay, one's still trying to figure it out. But again, it's a gentle read of their journey as it's unfolding, and it could be one you read together as a read aloud, together as a family, so you can have those conversations. But it's nice that the kids are able to see themselves. Ooh, True Magic. True Magic is really good. Again, that one's a graphic novel because it's about this character who Trung, who is Vietnamese, and he's trying to tell his love story and how to express himself when it doesn't align culturally. So that's another really good one. And Princess Ever After is more of like a it's a fairy tale adventure, and it's about these two friends who are going through this adventure together and they fall in love. And I love that they have a fairy tale ending with this book, right? Because in it goes along with the narrative that it's happy, but it is adventurous. I really like that. Graphic novels are becoming more popular. Oh, my daughter just. Oh, that's true. She was waving up Witch Boy. Witch Boy is so good. I think it's so good. We're into a lot of like fantasy books, like magic fantasy. And so Aster, he comes from a magical family, and girls become witches and boys become shapeshifters, but that doesn't align with Aster's identity. So again, it's exploring gender norms, it's having these conversations, it's queer affirming. But definitely check out some of these recommendations, and also be open to graphic novels. They have a really good way of creatively getting the message across with words and images. So, if we're talking about I guess I should talk about high school. I have this one book on my list to read. I'm just going to give you a basic. I mean, I have younger kids, so I stick to books at their level. So I actually like young adult novels, so I have this one on my book to read list, and it is The Miseducation of Cameron Post by Emily M. Danforth. And this is about a teenage girl who is being sent to a conversion therapy camp after her conservative aunt discovers she's gay. This one, I mean, for me, it sounds like it has some very serious themes and provides a lot of emotional ups and downs. It seems like it's really pushing through some of the summaries I've read of it, a lot of self discovery, a lot of resilience. But this book can go in many different ways of many different conversations, and just overall hone in on the harmful impacts of conversion therapy. But some people, you guys, there's still people and services and churches out here that offer conversion therapy. So I think, especially having a young adult, it's important to have those conversations of like the possibility of people thinking that's okay and suggesting maybe that's something they should do. They need to start introducing that this is harmful, this is not okay, this is not accepting, this is cruel. And so again, we're reading these stories, we're expanding our minds, we're sharing new narratives. And I think this is the reason why that one is on my book list. And my friend actually recommended, who is who was a high school teacher who's no longer a high school teacher because of the political climate in education. But another good book that they suggested to me was Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. And again, this follows Simon. He's a high school student who hasn't come out that he's gay. And an email gets accidentally sent to the wrong person and it risks him being exposed. So he's navigating the journey of coming out. And I like that they have, from like the reviews, that they were having a conversation about the importance of minding your own business and not outing someone, and let them have their journey, let them unfold it at the right time for themselves. Because while some people may not think that it's harmful to out someone, it's not your place, it's not your position. And again, this starts a conversation with kids on how to support and respect someone who is not out yet, or who isn't comfortable announcing it. So we I think from the reviews that it really hones in on the idea of respecting someone and supporting them when their time is right. Can y'all hear my throat? It's a little scratchy. The weather, it's been crazy because it's been raining, it's been beautiful, it's been scorching hot, it's been crazy overcast, and allergies are jacking me up right now. I have my teas, and I think since doing this podcast, I have been more interested in teas than coffee. Um, but I'm drinking a ginger cinnamon cardamom tea right now, but my throat is still a little bit scratchy, so I apologize. All right, so now let's talk about ways that you can use the books besides reading them in your homeschooling curriculum. So you could do read alouds. Younger kids and older kids love read alouds, and this is a great way to have discussions on the themes as you go. You could also do book discussions with your older kids, so you could have them share their thoughts and feelings about the books. Ask them some open-ended questions like, how did the character's journey make you feel? Or what did you learn about identity and acceptance? What misunderstandings did you have about gender pronouns that you now understand? There's so many questions you could ask, right, to help them engage with the text. You also could do creative projects. They could create art around the book. They could write an essay or do book report. Ooh, book report sounds so old school. But yeah, they could do a book report, perform skits. My kids really enjoy performing skits of books that they read. And what else could they do? I think if you engage them in a creative way, you can really see what their understanding of the text is, right? Oh, for like older kids, I think maybe upper middle school, high school, you could do compare and contrast, do like some comparative analysis where they could compare how different authors portray the LGBTQ plus experiences, maybe from different cultures, or you could see some similarities if there's any like stereotypes. These are all really cool opportunities to engage, and not opportunities, but ways to engage your kids with these books. And also, don't feel like you can only read these books for the month of June. You should constantly be doing the work throughout the year. And the more exposure we give our kids to these stories, I think it'll help them really shape their understanding of the world and to become more compassionate, informed individuals. And I think if you're listening to the Secular Homeschool Revolution, I think that would be your goal, right? so that your kids have this inclusive mindset. But if you have any other ideas on how to engage the text, please leave it on my little Q&A on the podcast. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some documentaries and some films you can check out. Oh, I did mention this a few episodes ago. If you have a library card, please check with your local library if it can give you access to the Canopy app, spelled Kanopy. It has a plethora of documentaries and it's all free. And it has like an adult side and it has a kids side. The kids side has everything from PBS Kids to highlights. You remember the magazines? They have like some versions of highlight stories in there, to picture books and some short like films, kid-friendly films. And on the adult side, it has documentaries, it has independent films, it has films, some old school films. So you do have so many options with that app. And I think it's important to have if you're a homeschooler, because it's always nice to have free resources. And you can always find a documentary to line up with the lesson. But some age appropriate documentaries that I would suggest is that will show the LGBTQ plus experiences: The Times of Harvey Milk, Paris is Burning, and Love, Simon. And it also might be helpful for you to watch these beforehand so that you can help um, guide the discussion, or stop it and do some open-ended questions to see what they're absorbing, or just to see if they have any thoughts. It is nice to, I like to front load, I like to watch them so that I have some time to like front load some information with them, and then for them to ask questions throughout the documentary. But it's up to you in the way that you choose to do it. But when we're, again, exposing them to these stories, we're exposing them to empathy, awareness, and a commitment to social justice. So the more we expose them to it, the more they're going to be informed. And that's how we're making progress, right? Because they're the next generation. Let's break down how to create an inclusive learning environment, because this is so important. You want to make sure that your homeschooling experience is welcoming to all, that you use inclusive language, you teach your kids about the importance of respecting people's preferred pronouns, that you are a safe space. Make it clear that your home is a safe space for everyone, regardless of their gender identity or sexual orientation. I actually have a sign in my window in the front of my house, and I have a rainbow, what is it, mat that goes in front of your door. And also have open discussions, encourage open discussions about diversity, identity, and respect, and answer questions honestly and provide resources for further learning for yourself. I mean, ask those questions, and it's okay to say, I don't know, but then it's also your responsibility to go find those answers. And then if you come across someone who doesn't know, give them resources so they can educate themselves, right? Because ignorance fosters hate, and we want to break that cycle. Get involved in the community. Get involved with local LGBTQ plus organizations. Engage in some events. Pride parades are everywhere. You can do virtual events. You can volunteer as a family to show support and solidarity. And when we're creating that environment that values inclusivity and respect, we are teaching our kids the importance of standing up for others, and it's okay to celebrate diversity, and that they should just do it loudly. I think sometimes people get scared, and we're growing these amazing kids who are going to be fearless, right? Because they're, again, the next generation who hopefully will impact and make some change. Some other ways you could celebrate Pride Month is listen to LGBTQ plus artists, create a playlist featuring queer artists, and discuss the themes and messages in their music. This would be a great way to appreciate their contributions as individuals to the arts. You also could go and support some local and national organizations by donating, volunteering, or just simply learning about the work that these groups do, and you can promote them, whether it's word of mouth or forwarding an email or sharing it on social media. Everyone loves a good post with a good tag, and that's how you could spread the word. You also could have some posters around your house, like I mentioned, and have some, and that's normalizing images, right? Creating a new normal when we are challenging the status quo. Um, and you could find some historical figures. You could do some modern day activists, and you could also do it as a family project. You could do when you do a family project, you can have a family discussion night, and you could allow each member to share something that they've learned, their thoughts or personal stories of about acceptance and equality. So celebrating Pride Month in your homeschooling is more than just activities, but it's about doing the work to foster a culture of inclusivity, respect, and love. And when we're integrating these practices into our kids' education, we are helping them grow again into compassionate, informed, and open minded individuals. And that is how we're going to see progress in the world. And before we wrap up, I do want to share some resources that I found that you could incorporate in your LGBTQ plus topics for your homeschooling journey. And also, by supporting these organizations, you are supporting Pride Month. So there's Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, the GLSEN, and they offer educational resources and support for creating a more inclusive environment. Then the Trevor Project, which provides crisis intervention and suicide prevention services for the LGBTQ plus youth. And then you have the last one I want to share, Parents, Families, and Friends of Lesbian and Gays. And they are the PFLAG. And they offer support and resources for families and allies of the LGBTQ plus community. And remember, as allies, it is our responsibility to educate ourselves and our kids and to advocate for equality and celebrate the beautiful human experience. And I thank you for joining me on this very special episode of the Secular Homeschool Revolution. Happy Pride Month, and let's continue to make our world a more inclusive and loving space for everyone. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep revolutionizing. Thanks for listening to the Secular Homeschool Revolution with me, Ashley. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, review, answer my questions, and for any more resources or updates, you can follow me on social media. It is on my bio, thrifting_homeschool_mom. And I hope to see you next time.